Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream today. I see we got folks already tuned in, and I just realized I am not visible on the screen. So let me fix that real quick. All right, hello, everyone, and I hope now you all can see me. Welcome to the stream. I am excited for today's stream. We are gonna have a lot of fun with TensorFlowJS. And I see we got folks joining in from India. We got folks joining in from Pakistan. That's wonderful. And I see a comment that says MLH is great. Thank you so much. You are great as well, since you are a part of MLH too. Wonderful. So before we get into all these things, I just want to learn from you all and want to know from you all, like, how much do you know about TensorFlow or TensorFlow.js? Have you tried it before? Have you built something out of it? If you have built something with TensorFlow before, just share it in the chat, and I'll try to show it on the stream as well. Awesome. Just keep the chat coming in. In the meantime, I'm just gonna try to add my screen as well. All right. So now you all can hopefully also see my screen. Right now, there is just a code editor in there and a browser. So I have created a small demo for you all just to get you excited and show you what we are going to build today. All right. So here is a very tiny game that I have created, which okay. I think I have broken my demo or not. All right, let me see. Okay, I know what the problem is. So the problem right now is that it's using my iPhone's camera. So I have to hold my iPhone with the other hand, but the game basically works like this. If you show your right hand, Pikachu would move forward. And let me switch the camera and switch my hand. So if you show your left hand, Pikachu should move backwards. That's fun, I hope, and it's easy as well. I'm just gonna put my phone down, and I'm trying to fix that problem later on. I think because I'm using two different webcams over here. Never mind. All right, I see someone mentioning in the chat that they have tried a little bit and they have done some object detection with TensorFlowJS. Wow, that's interesting. Do you have a live project going in somewhere that so that I can show it to the rest of the folks? If not, that's completely all right. If you have the source code on GitHub or someplace, feel free to share it as well. All right, I'm curious to know how excited are you all with this small little demo that I just showed? Do you think we would be able to finish this in this live stream? And do you have any other ideas that you want to maybe add on to this project later on? Ooh, I see a comment again. This is a very fun project. Would love to make one like it. Thank you. I thought this was gonna be fun, and that's why I chose this project. I am glad you are excited of building it. All right. So for the folks who are new to TensorFlow, who are new to the world of machine learning, I'm just gonna quickly go through what TensorFlow is. Let me just try to open up the website. Just go to TensorFlow.js. It would be more easy. Is this recorded? Uh, it is recorded. So because it's been streamed on both Twitch and YouTube, you would be able to get the recording. You would be able to see the recording later on as well. So it's completely all right. I know in some parts of the world, like in India and Pakistan, it's definitely very late. Uh, but yeah, if you want to check out the recording later on, you can always go to the YouTube channel. Oh, so Hilal says that they use the Google Teachable machine to build it. That's interesting. I have tried it, but I have not extensively used Google's Teachable machine, which is something that I want to learn a bit more. But maybe next time. All right. So TensorFlow.js, I'm just going to increase the width. Uh, so TensorFlow.js basically is a library uh, to use TensorFlow with JavaScript. So TensorFlow is a Python-based library which allows you to develop machine learning models. Right now, I'm not going to dive more into how you can get into how you can create models and stuff like that, because in this stream, I'm more focused on creating that fun demo and building something more interesting and more fun. Right, but while we are gonna do that, we are gonna also learn more about TensorFlow and the model that we are going to use today. All right. So Hilal says that Google Teachable Machine is a graphical way to train your model, and then you can get the code as well. Interesting. So for the folks who are trying to create your own model, maybe take a look at the Google's Teachable Machine. That might be something that can help you with building your model. Right now, moving forward with this, I'm going to quickly address the question in the chat again. Can we follow along with you? Yes, definitely. So my aim is to help you at least get the basic code up and running so that later on you can try to, change it according to your needs and finish it in your own time, right? So my idea is to get the basics up and running. We got like 2 hours. Hopefully we should be able to cover at least the basics. Let's see how far we can go with this. All right. So moving forward, if you want to dive much deeper into TensorFlow.js, here is the link that I am sharing in the chat. Go ahead, go to the website. They have like amazing documentation. They got great tutorials and guides and also demos in there, which you can go along and follow by yourself. And just gonna highlight the link that Hilal shared for Teachable Machine. So if you want to go ahead, try out Teachable Machine, check out that link that is just on your screen right now. All right, so this is what TensorFlow.js is. It's basically a library that allows you to run ML models on the browser, right? Traditionally, you could only run ML models on your local machine, and you needed a very powerful machine to run that, right? But with TensorFlowJS, you can run these models on the browser, which means that you can create applications, web applications that uses the power of machine learning, which gets more and more exciting with this. So as you can see, you can run existing models, you can retrain a model, and you can deploy ML with JavaScript. And there are some fun little demos in there. Uh, I have played the Pac-Man one, and I think there was one which you could control something with the movement of your face. I don't remember exactly. It was a while back, but you can find a lot of demos and applications in there. All right. Now, as I mentioned, we are gonna use a pre-existing model for our tutorial over here. And if you are interested in learning what are all the models that are available for TFJS, that's TensorFlowJS for short, you can see that they are divided into various categories. For example, for vision, there is image classification, which is built on top of mobile net model. Then there is object detection, there is semantic segmentation. For body, there is simple face detection, there is face landmark detection, there is a pose detection, there is body segmentation, hand pose detection, and portrait depth estimation. Now, today, what we are going to use is the hand pose detection model, because as I showed in the demo, if it detects our hand, if it detects our right hand, Pikachu would move forward. If it detects our left hand, Pikachu would move backwards. And there are again a lot of things that you can do if you want to use BERT, right? There are already existing models that you can do using TFJS. Let's see, there is a speech command recognition, and then there's a KNN, the classic KNN classifier, right? So I would recommend you all to go to the website, check out the tutorials, check out the guides, and try it out on your own. It's For me, it's really fun to try out the code, play around with it, and it helps me learn more. So if you're someone who is as curious as me, this is the best place to learn more about TFJS. All right, enough of talking. Let's get into the code. So what we are going to do is we are going to create an HTML file, because again, we are using TFJS, which runs on the browser. So we can code directly in an HTML file. And for today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to code the style and the JavaScript code within the HTML file. But if you want, you can have a separate style file, a separate CSS file, a separate script file. You can call it index.js or whatever you want, right? I am going to have everything in my index.html just to make it easy. All right. So let's get started and set things up, right? So I've already created my HTML file and I've added a couple of scripts. I am going to share the code uh, in the chat, or maybe, let me quickly set up a gist that would make it easy, I guess. So while that is happening, I'm just going to give this page a title and let's call it Pikachu with TFJS. You know what? Yeah. Okay. All right. I am. Let me try this. So I'm just going to try to create a small gist so that I can share the code easily with you all. All right. In the meantime, go ahead, create the index.html file. Just add a title, for example, and if you want to go ahead with the styling, you can go ahead and add background colors and stuff like that. For now, I have a very plain white background color and just the image of Pikachu. What else you can do is you can find an image of any character that you want. It does not necessarily have to be the same image, right? So if you are a fan of, let's just say, Mario, right? So you can get the image of Mario instead of Pikachu. So go ahead, get that, and I would say try it out. Try out to render that image on the screen, right? If you know HTML, you might be able to get this. If not, don't worry. I'm going to show you step by step. Okay, I'm just going to do this. I'm creating a small gist so that you all can get access to the code that I am running right now. Create a public gist. Oops. Right. I got the gist now. I can share it with you. Right. Manohar, I just shared the code in the link in the chat. So if you just go to that particular link, you will see that code, right? So you can go ahead, copy that code, and what I should do is I should close the server for the demo. All right, and I'm gonna run this particular page so that you know that I am showing you the actual output, right? So what I am doing is now to run this, I basically want to start a local server. Now there are different ways to do that. I am a JavaScript user, so I use npm and I'm going to use a package that is HTTP server. So I'm going to run the command npx http -server, right? What this does is it basically starts a local server for this particular HTML file. So if I refresh my page, because again I'm on the same address, that is localhost 8080, I get basically no output right now because in here I haven't set anything, right? So if I go in here, let's just do body quickly, background color, and I don't want to do something too bold. Let's just try this particular color, and now if I refresh it, you see that the background is changing. So this is the, so now you can see that it is working. It is, everything looks good for now. I'm sharing the gist again over here, and I'm just gonna quickly try out something on my machine. That's on a separate browser, so you might not be able to see this. All right. All right. Okay. So for the folks who cannot access the gist, you can easily go to gist.github.com/Herschel1712. That's my GitHub handler, right? If you go over there, it will show you all the public gists that I have, and the top one is the one that I just shared in the chat. So that is another way to get that gist or to get the code. All right. So how many of you are with me and are able to follow what I did just now? Just let me know in the chat so that I know if I should move faster, if this pace is good, or if I need to repeat something. So just keep on that feedback coming in so that I know that you are all with me. Right. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bunch of styling in here. Now, I am just going to add a couple of styles that I already have coded because I don't want to waste a lot of time on CSS. So I've already gonna, I'm just basically using the existing code that I have, and doing at the same time, I am gonna update the gist. So if I can find it in here, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and add it, and I'm gonna add the style. Okay, update gist. All right, I have updated the gist with the style as well, so you can now have the style too. You know what? I'm just gonna, yeah. All right. So we got the styling in here. We got some things going in here. There are also a couple of things happening in the head with the script tag. Now I am gonna come to that later on when we actually start using TFJS. But the first things that we need to do is we need to first of all get the video element going in there so that we can access our webcam and we can display that on the screen. And the next thing is to have a sort of character displayed on our screen, right? Now in CSS, I already have a container, a container class. So I'm going to use that in my body. Do div class container, and this container is going to contain two different divs. This one would be for video. uh, It's going to make sure that I am using the correct class and ID video. And then there's another one that I want to use. This is going to be for image. I don't have a class for this. I'm going to leave it as it is for now. All right. Now in the video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another class or another div, my bad, and give it a ID and call it video container. Now again, all the stylings are already in here. So if I show you, yeah, so I already have a video container. I have set the width and height for that, and that is a position relative. I don't need this particular thing. Okay. Now that I have a video container, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a video tag. This is what we are going to use to display. Oops, I think I need the video post video. I deleted the wrong thing. Just get that back here. The video tag, and I'm gonna use the attribute that is play in line, plays in line, so that it tells my browser to play it in line. And this looks good. Let's save this, refresh this, and see if something happens. Okay, nothing happened yet. That's all right. We haven't actually told our code to run the video or to start the webcam. So this is what we are going to do next. Now, after the body tag, I'm going to start a script tag. Remember, again, you can have a separate script file. You can have a separate script file that you can easily link in here. Right, let's bring that here. And in this script file, I'm going to first create a constant, const, and I'm going to call it config. This is just setting up the values that I want to use for my video. So I'm going to say video, and this is going to be an object which contains the width of the video. And because I want the video to be small, I'm going to give it a width of 160. I'm going to have height of, let's say 90. And also set up a frame rate of 30 for now. Right. All right. I see folks are asking for the code. So what I am going to do is maybe repeat this for what I have done. I am going to share the code. The gist is already in the chat. But what I want to do is I want to complete the video thing, right? Once we start showing the video on the screen, I'll add the code. I'll update the gist with the code so that you can refer to that as well, if that works for you. If you, in the meantime, have any questions, just let me in the chat. I will be happy to repeat what I have done, right? All right. Just to do a quick recap, we added a couple of div elements. We then added the video tag, and now we are configuring. Thank you so much. Yep, it's VIDTH. Thank you. Yeah, where was I? So we added the width tag, and now we are writing some JavaScript code to get um, to get the video up and running. We all able to follow what we did till now? All right, I am going to take this as a yes, probably. Okay, but again, if you have any questions, just let me know. We have the video element going in there, but we don't have the webcam or anything that's showing up on the screen, right? Now, because we want to access the webcam, we are going to create a new function, and I'm going to call it, and this is going to be an async function. Async function, I'm going to call it init video because you want to initialize the video. And in here, I'm going to pass three values: the width, the height, and the FPS. Now, these are the values that we are configuring in the config object. Init video. And now in here, we're going to have a couple of constraints for our video. So let's define that. Never mind. And then because we are not doing anything with the audio, the first thing I want to do is set the audio to false. Next, for video, there are a couple of parameters that we are going to set. One of the things is the facing mode, which is telling like who is or from where we are getting this input. We're going to call it user. And then we're going to set the width. Again, this width is going to be the width that is coming in from the function parameter. Similarly, height, which is again coming in from the parameter in there. And then frame rate. And for this, we're going to set a max FPS. All right. I'm going to let you all digest this for a minute. Right. I am going to give you a couple of minutes to understand what we did over here. Right. So we created a function that is called init video. And in that, the first thing we are doing is we are creating some constraints. Now, these constraints are basically going to be used when the video gets rendered. Now, today we are only interested in the video and not the audio. So I've set audio to false. In the video, I've set what's the facing mode, what is the width of the video, what is the height, and what is the frame rate that we want. That's the only thing that I have done till now. And I am going to update the gist once we have the video up and running. All right. Now that we have this, I am going to reference the video element, right? Now I am curious to know from you folks, how can I do that? Anyone got any idea how can I reference to a particular HTML tag or an ID or a class? Yep, we're going to use a query selector. Now there are different ways to do that. We can either use query selector, or because this is an ID, we can also use get element by ID as well. But since you mentioned query selector, let's go ahead and use query selector. Now remember, Over here, we need to specify that it is an ID, and the way both HTML and CSS identify an ID is with a hash before that. We had the video tag with the ID post video, and this is the tag that we want to refer to, and that's why we set video variable to post video. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna configure the width. Now again, width is coming in from the parameter here. It's gonna be simply width. Video dot height is gonna be height. Till now, what we did is we basically referenced that element and we set the width and the height. Now, next what we are gonna do is we're gonna get the stream from the webcam, right? For this, let's call it stream, and we're gonna have an await. Now, because this is gonna be an async function, remember we created an async function, so we need to have an await because it's gonna return a promise. So we want to wait before that promise is resolved and then get the output. Now, the way to get the information from the video is from navigator.media devices, and then there is a get user media function. Now, in this function, we are going to pass the constraints that we defined over here. All right, now we have the input stream coming in from our webcam. The last thing we want to do is set that as the source. Let's see if it gives me an autocomplete now. Okay. Source object equals stream. All right. I know a lot of things are going in there. Hang on with me. Again, if you have any questions, let me know in the chat. But what we did over here is now we got access to the webcam of the user. Now, again, obviously the user needs to allow it. But assuming the user allowed it, we are now getting the input stream from the user. And once we get the input stream from the user, we are setting the source of the video to be that stream, right? Because video would by default require a source to display something on our web page. So in this case, this is going to be the stream that is coming in from the webcam. Any questions so far? Right, got one all good. That's great. Then I don't see any question popping up in the chat, which I'm going to take as a sign that everyone is able to follow for what we did till now. So I'm going to just go ahead and finish this function, which would basically return a new promise, which again we need to have a resolve. This is if you are like, this is a bit of more advanced JavaScript, but you don't need to worry about it. If you have any questions, just let me know. With this, what we are going is we are telling it if it video dot onload meta data, then we want to run something, which is basically we're telling it to resolve. Oops. The video. What we are doing over here is we are basically returning the resolved video. Right. I see that Hilal mentioned that the internet is not letting them understand. All right, Hilal, again, if you have any questions, let me know at any point, and I'm going to try my best to explain it to you, right? And as I mentioned, I'm going to share the code. I'm going to keep on updating that gist so that everyone is able to follow along after we complete a certain section of that of the project, right? So right now, try to follow as much as you can. Again, if you are not able to follow everything, it's all right. You will get the code as well. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. All right. So if I save this and if I refresh the page, what is gonna happen? Anyone? Remember, we created a function which allows us to get the input from the webcam and display it on the screen. Right? I'm curious to know like what is gonna happen if I refresh the page. If I refresh the page. Hmm. All right. Okay. It's not that difficult right now. If I just refresh the page, let me open the console as well so that you can see what we might get in the console. If something, refresh the page, nothing is happening. Any ideas why? So we have the function in here. We got the const in here. All things are looks good to me for now, but our function is doing nothing right now. All right. I'm going to spoil it for you all because we are not calling that function, right? We just have defined the function, but we are not calling the function. So we need to call the function. And the right time to call this function to would be after the whole document is loaded, right? So we're going to use an event listener for that. I know, right? That was not a trick question, right? It was I just wanted to see how much you all were paying attention, but oh well. All right. Moving forward, as I mentioned, we want to run this function when the document gets loaded. And for that, we have a event handler that is called DOM content loaded. And this will take a fallback function. All right. Now, as I mentioned, we need to run the function or we need to call the above function, which is init video. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to do init video and we need to pass on the width, the height, and the FPS as well. Now we have already configured it. We have already defined it in the config. I'm just going to use that video dot width to config dot video dot height, and lastly the FPS. Video dot FPS. All right, this is done. Remember, we are returning a promise here. So now because we are returning a promise, what we can do is we can do dot 10 so that when the promise gets resolved, we're gonna get something. We're gonna call that as video. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna say video dot play. So this will start playing the video. Video would also contain an event listener for itself, and that is called a loaded. I'm just making sure the spelling is correct. It looks correct. We'll see if we run into a problem. All right, again, what we are doing over here is we are listening for the event DOM content loaded. So when the content is loaded on our document on a web page, that's when we are gonna call the init video function. Again, this function is gonna take the input from the user and give us something. Now it is basically returning a promise. That with using that promise, we are telling like, hey, after that promise is resolved, go ahead and play the video. And also listen for the event loaded data. Just to keep ourselves updated with what is going on, I'm gonna say mm, camera is up and running, and this should now probably, hopefully, get us the video stream. So let's refresh the page. All right. I'm not sure if you all can see, but I am getting a dot over here, which means my video, something is happening. It's taking an input, but it's not able to render it out. Ah, all right. If I come over here, the dev video, I've got the video container, got pose video, which has an height and width. That's okay. Hmm. Document loaded, video web, video hard is working, looks good, video dot play. I think this is where something is not working. Just gonna add a control over here. Refresh it again. All right. So over here, I have access to the video. It is using my FaceTime cam, but it's not rendering on the page. I'm sure I am making some silly mistakes in here. DOM content loaded. Oh, so yours is rendering. That's wonderful. Uh, that's wonderful if yours is rendering. Do you see anything that I have done differently in here? I think I have made some typos in here, which is why mine is not getting loaded or is not rendering. And it's trying to figure out that typo. Just gonna refresh this again. Find out. Okay, so DOM is getting loaded. That's perfect. We got init video here on load metadata. Anyone else is having the problem? I think I know where the problem is. It should be on loaded metadata and not load metadata. Refresh this. Yes. So it should be on loaded metadata and not on load metadata. That was the mistake that I made. And now you can see me with my FaceTime camera. All right. So this is working perfectly well. So as I promised, I'm going to copy the whole code. I'm going to go to my gist. Let me quickly pull it up on my other screen and add it. All right. Update the public gist. Okay, and I'm going to quickly share the link again for the folks who just joined in. All right, so this code is updated in the gist. You can get access to this code and you can play around with that code. You can copy and paste it and use it out of the box as well. Now we got our webcam import coming in, as you can see on my screen over here. It's showing. I know it's very tiny on your screen. And maybe I should just zoom in a bit. All right. Now you can see me on the screen. You should be able to see yourself on the screen. If you are again running into any kind of issues, just let me know, and we should be able to hopefully debug it like we just did for me. All right, and this is also logging the video tag, which we console logged here. Then we're running video play. Okay, I'm just gonna remove that control, and all right. So I'm just gonna have this. So what I want to know is how many of you were able to understand what we did till now. Now we haven't started implementing uh, the ML model that we are gonna use, so we are still gonna work on that next. But before I jump into that, I still want to make sure that folks are able to follow this and they are with me and are able to understand what's going on till now. So any questions, let me know in the chat. All right, J real the deal. J real the deal. I think I got it right. Says that they got it. That's wonderful. Anyone, anyone else who, anyone who does not didn't understood the till did understood what we covered till now. All right, I am gonna give you a couple of more minutes, and then I am gonna move forward to the next part. So this is so cool. I know, right? This is so cool. Now, using just this piece of code, you can get access to the webcam, right? I the demo that I showed is very small, is very tiny over here right now. But what else you can do is you can use different kind of models to do different kind of things. As I mentioned, you can use the face detection model to recognize the emotions of someone, right? So you can use that. Based on that, maybe you can have, based on the emotion, you can also display an emoji on the screen, right? Maybe we can try it out if we have enough time, but but if we have enough time, right? We're gonna try to first finish what we talked about earlier. All right. So I am gonna assume, because I don't see any questions in the chat, that we are all on the same page. We are able to understand the code, and that I should move forward. Well, I see a comment in the chat that says do a part two. Let's try to do it in this stream. Maybe I haven't used that model in a while, so I'm sure a lot of things have changed, but it would be fun to build it together on the stream. So maybe we can do it if we have time in this stream. I'm not sure about a part two if I can do that, but let's see if we can do that. I am doing another stream though on Saturday. That's 11 a.m. my time. It's CET, Central European time. Which is going to be, well, I'm going to use an existing API and create something for Discord, right? I'm just not going to spoil everything right now, but that is going to be hopefully another fun stream for you. All right, so let's move forward to the next part. Let's move forward to the next part. And in the code, you might already see that there are a couple of script tags which have some scripts in there, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly tell you what these scripts are, and then I'm just going to go and then we're going to probably go and start coding the machine learning part of this segment. Whew. Okay, just keeping an eye on the chat. Ooh. Oh, you are in GMT. Okay, that's gonna be 10 a.m. for you if I'm doing my time zone calculation right. All right. Before we jump into the ML part, there's one other thing that we need to do is we need to add the image for our character, right? Now this is I'm I'm not sure if everyone over here knows is good with HTML or not. So I'm just going to quickly show how you can do that. So in HTML, to display an image, we use the image tag, and in that we pass on a source. And this source, I already have copied the link. I'm going to paste it in here. Is the source for my image. I'm going to just give it an alt text as well. I'm going to call it, oops, Pikachu running. And I'm going to give it a width of 250 pixels maybe. Close it. I'm going to refresh this. And now we got the Pikachu on the screen as well, right? So I'm going to update the code in a while for this. But again, you can always replace the character, right? You can have your own favorite character in the web page. All right, coming back to our scripts. The first thing we are importing is the TFJS code, that is the TensorFlowJS, the core library. We are then getting the TFJS backend WebGL. Now, I think the project is going to run fine without this, but I haven't tried it out. Again, yeah. But what basically this does is if you want to, let's just say, render any kind of positions, uh, render any kind of markers, right? So if here is my hand, now each hand has different kind of markers. Let me quickly go to the hand pose detection. And this document should probably have, yeah, as you see there now, as displayed in here, there are a couple of markers. So if you want to maybe, let's just say, create a 3D hand in your web application, right? That's when something like the backend WebGL will be used. So this is basically using the WebGL engine of the browser to render out such markers for your characters. The next thing we are doing is we are importing the hand pose detection model. Now the hand pose detection model has, I think, two different. Let me quickly check if I can find it in here for you. Yeah. If you see over here, we have the support models and it says media pipe hands. So we are using the media pipe hands model specifically, which is being rendered in here as well. So we are basically now importing the hand pose models that we are going to use in the code now. So that is what the script tag is doing. And now let's come back to the code. Now, let's see. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. The first thing we want to do is we want to create a detector for our models. I'm going to call it async. I'm going to again create an async function. And remember, we are right now just defining the function. We are not calling it. So we have a async function which we are calling create detector. This will create the detector. And now we're going to do window dot hand pose detection dot support models and then call media pipe hands. Now generally, if you don't import this the script files ahead of time, you won't be able to access handport detection from window. So make sure that you are importing that files to access it from the window object. All right. No, wait. We want to create the model, right? Yeah. So, mm, okay, let's do it this way. Because we want to create the detector, I'm just going to say create detector. And in this, we want to pass on the window dot hand post detection dot support models and then media pipe hands. And then we want to pass on some parameters or subconfigs as you can see over here, right? So we want to let's pass on the configs. The runtime we're going to use is again media pipe. All this, as you can see, is also in the documentation over here. So I'm basically taking the help of the documentation to create the model in here. And then there is going to be a model type. Now they allow you to use two different kinds of model types. It can be the full model or it can be the light version of the model. I want to use the light version of the model over here because my machine is already making noise with me just streaming, doing the live stream right now. So I'm not sure if my machine would be able to also run the model, right? I'm just gonna hope that this does not crash my machine. And then with max hands, now this model can detect at most 2 hands if I'm not wrong. Let's just see if they have it mentioned here somewhere. No. All right. But you can have max hands and you can tell the model to detect either 2 hands or 1 hand. Now, talking about our project today, right? What is happening? When we have the right hand detected, Pikachu moves forward. When you have the left hand detected, Pikachu moves forward. Sorry, backwards. But what would happen if both of our hands are detected? That's when it won't be fun for the user to use our application, right? That's where it's gonna be really confusing and annoying for them because Pikachu might stuck in between. It might move a bit on the right, a bit on the left, and we don't want that. So what we are gonna do is tell the model to detect only 1 hand. So what this will do is if it is detecting the right hand, and if we pull up the left hand, it is still gonna just detect the right hand. That's the same for the other hand. If it is already detecting the left hand, and then we pull up the right hand, it is still going to detect the left hand, and it's going to ignore the right hand. All right, and as you can see over here, there is a solution path. Now, for the solution path, I want to use a very specific version, so I'm not going to use it from here, but I am going to call it. I'm going to paste it from the link I already have. All right. So this is our create detector function. Again, what this is doing is it's basically returning the model or yeah, it's basically creating the model, creating the detector for us, loading the model that we can later on use in our code. Now that we have the create detector, let's go ahead and create another function and call it main. All right. Hmm. Let me ask you all a question. Let me give you this opportunity to ask a question. Till now, what we covered, do we have any questions in the chat? Mm, any questions in the chat? All right. how come you are using a specific version? That's a wonderful question. So I am using a specific version because when I created this project, I was already using this particular version, right? Now there is a very high probability that it is going to work without me specifying a version, but I just don't want to break the application right now, and that's why I'm sticking to this particular version. But we can also try out the latest version. So I'm just gonna put this in here and I'm gonna comment that specific version. We're gonna try it out. We're gonna see if it works or not. If it breaks, we have that specific version to see ourselves. But nice question. Ooh, I like that. So the comment is for later. I want to see what happens if we turn one hand the other way. If the right hand facing backwards will be detected as left. I think I have tried that, but I'm not gonna tell you right now. Let's just try it out on the stream itself. I love these questions. Keep these questions coming in. All right. So what we want to do is we have created a function that is called create detector. Let's go ahead and call this function in here. And we're gonna use await and we're gonna say, hey, call the create detector function. Once this function is being called, is resolved, we might want to say, uh, hmm, ML model loaded. And we now again, we're just loading the model. We now want to start using this. So I'm going to create another function within the same function. Let's just say, call it detect hand. Now this is going to be an async function, and we're going to do a couple of things over here. The first thing is, let me do const hands await detector dot estimate hands. Now again, you can see the code in here. So I'm basically implementing this particular line of code. So now that we have created the detector in here, uh, what we are doing is we are executing the estimate hands function. And as you can see, we need to pass on the information that is coming in from a webcam, right? So we need to basically pass on the video. So let's reference the video element over here. Just gonna do it on the top, const video, and we're gonna do document dot query selector. It was post video if I'm not wrong. Post video, and now we are referencing that video. And let's see if I can find that information. No. Okay. Now there is another parameter which is an optional parameter, which is not mentioned in here, but it basically says if we want to flip it horizontally or not. If the way this works right now is, if I come over here, I am showing my right hand. Let me show the left hand. Let's make it easy. If I'm showing my left hand, it is going to detect the left hand, right? But we want to also make sure that it is doing it correctly. It knows that this information is coming in from the webcam. So we're saying like, hey, flip that horizontally to oops, to flip horizontally true. This is gonna basically take like the video coming in is gonna be flipped, and that's how it should take the input. All right, we have the detector in here. We are detecting something, and it is gonna return us what is known. It is gonna return us the detection, which we are calling it hands. Hmm. Let's do. I want to basically show you. Hmm. I'm just thinking what would be a good way to show you the output. Let's just try this. It does not work. You can try something else. I'm just going to try to control log the hands. And again, we have just called the detect. We've just created the detect hands function, but we aren't calling it anywhere right now. So what I want to do is I want to call it within main. So let's just call detect hand. Uh, and now we need to call main as well. Document loaded. So we are first initializing the video. And once the video is initialized, it is in here dot then. All right, I'm going to open it over here. Camera is up and running. That's fantastic. The next thing we want to do is we want to run the main function. All right, we did a lot of things in here. So I'm going to refresh my browser, see if we are getting the expected output or not. In the meantime, if you have any questions, let me know in the chat. All right, okay. So we got an error that's completely all right. Means that I am doing something wrong over here. Let me check real quick. Again, if you have any questions, let me know in the chat. Window.handpush direction. Now, media pipe hands. Okay. Got it. It should be supported models and not support models. Refresh this. Okay, if I show a hand, it says ML model loaded. All right. This is fantastic. And now we get some output as well. If I open this, you can see, we got output only once, but we got an output, which means that our application is running. And open this a bit more. All right. So over here, you can see that it is basically an array. And now it contains a couple of information, the handedness, which basically tells if it's a left hand or a right hand. The key points, again, these are the key points that are displayed over here. The key points 3D, which is basically the key points if you want to use it in a 3D space. The score, which is again, if you're doing machine learning, it's going to give you always a score between 0 to 1, right? Excluding 1. So it says that it's 93%, 93.5% sure that it is a left hand. All right. So I'm going to quickly walk through the code again just so that you all know what we did, and then I'm going to move forward with the next steps. And I think we are doing really good on time. So maybe we would be able to do the face detection thing as well. Let's see. So what we did now is we created a main function and we are again referencing video because we need to pass on the video to our model. Now over here we are creating detector, which is basically calling the detector function. So if I come back over here, this is the detector function, right? It is returning the detector that just got created with that model. Once this is successful, once the promise is resolved, we get the message that hey, your ML model is loaded, you're good to go. Now that is done, what we are doing is we're creating another function within the main function and we call it detect hand. And we are using the estimate hands, which is coming in from the model. And this particular function takes the video because it obviously needs an input to detect. So it's taking video, it's taking the flip horizontal parameter, and then we are just rendering out whatever input or whatever output we are getting from that model. All right. Do we have any questions till now? All right. If you have any questions, again, post it in the chat so that I know that I should stop and I should explain it again. All right. Now, because what this is doing is, all right, I see a question in the chat. All right, let's jump into it. When I load the page, it just console logs an empty array of hands. Is your model getting loaded? I would check that first, right? And yeah, so what might be happening is your model would have got loaded, right? And it executed once when you were not displaying your hand in the webcam, right? And it executed once, it then gave the output because it did not found any hands, it returned an empty array. We try to show it over here. All right. So it says ML model loaded. That's wonderful. It is now going to try to detect something. It didn't detect my hands because I didn't show the hands. And now if you see over here, I also got an empty array, right? So that is what might be happening with you. And this is something that we are going to fix now because what is happening is our function is running just once, right? If I bring up my hand over here, it does not give me an output, right? It should detect that and it should give me an output, but that is not happening. And that is what we are going to fix right now. All right. But before jumping into that, what I want to do it to make it easy for later on is where is my main function? Right here. Now within detect hand, now this is returning an array, right? And we are interested in just the first output because we are always gonna get one output, right? So what I am gonna do is I'm gonna create a for loop and we're gonna say const hand of hands. So what we're telling it like, hey, just give me the hand that we have, and we already know that the information that we get is the score and the handedness. We are extracting that from the hand. And for now, we're just gonna go ahead and control log the score and handedness. Right. Again, what we did, we just got one element out of the array. We destructured the score and the handedness value, and we are simply console logging it on the screen or on our browser. Right. Again, this is running just once. So what I want to do is use the set timeout function, right? Uh, this is going to take a callback, and with this, I want to call the detect hand, and this will take, and this should run for just 2000 by config.video.fps. We're dividing it by the frame rate. So we are basically calling the detect hand function within itself. So we're basically doing a recursion in here. But what we want to do is we want to uh, do this recursion after a certain period of time. And that's why we set out the set timeout function. Once we have it in here, we say detect hand. And this should hopefully get us working. All right. Okay. So now we see we get multiple logs, which means that our model is now continuously detecting and returning out some information. If I put my left hand up, it says, hey, this is the percentage, this is the output. Wonderful. If I put my right hand up, all right. Now, there was one question in the chat. It mentioned about what would happen if we turn our hand backwards. So if I turn my hand backward, it still knows that it's the left hand, right? So it still does that. It knows that it's the left hand and it's not the right hand. All right. For a minute, it said it's a right hand, and there was a 50-50% chance. Interesting. But for the rest of it, it detected correctly. All right. So what I am going to do now is I'm going to copy the code and update the gist so that you all have this code with you. And again, this is the time for you to ask any question that you might have. So again, let me know in the chat if you have any question for what we just did or for what we did before as well. I'm going to update the public gist to that. All right, the gist is now updated, so you should get the same code that I am running. So you can go ahead and try it out as well. Phew. All right, we did a lot of things. So I'm just gonna sip some water and see if you have any comments, any questions till now. All right, I don't see. I see one question that's coming in. Do we need internet once it's all made, or it works without the need for the internet? That's a really good question. So let me quickly go up over here and show you something. Like, so over here, what we are doing is we are calling all the scripts from the internet, right? So because we are calling all the scripts from the internet, unless and until you make the scripts available offline to the user in your application, you won't be able to run it without the internet. So you can still do it, but then you will have to make all the scripts available offline to the user as well. I hope that answers your question. And I think I can probably show it to you as well if I just say, if I just turn it to offline, right? And if I refresh this, oops, it's not running, but it makes sense because I'm right now running it on my local server. And because I don't have access to the local server, it's not going to run. So maybe I should have thought of this before I just went into the demo, but yeah. But as I mentioned, you would have to make it, you have to make those scripts and model available to the user. Okay, so let's move forward. So we have almost done the basics, right? We have the model running. It can detect the left hand. It can detect the right hand. Now what we want to do is pure JavaScript. And this is what we are going to do next. Now, remember, we want to move our Pikachu to the left when our right hand is shown, and we want to move it to, oh, my bad. We want to move it to right when our right hand is shown, and we want to move it to the left when our left hand is detected, right? So let's dive into it. Now now the first thing, okay, what I am gonna do is collapse a couple of things which is not needed over here. Let's do set timeout. I'm gonna leave the for loop to window listener as well. Okay. So over here, the first thing we want to do is we want to reference the Pikachu. So I'm gonna again do something that we did earlier, which is document dot. Now instead of query selector, I can still use query selector, but because I want to show you another function, I'm gonna use that, which is called get element by ID. I am gonna have the ID Pikachu. Oh no, wait, I have. Do I? No. Just trying to think if I already created an ID. And I think I have an ID that is called image. Just gonna add it in here. Right, and we're gonna reference to that particular ID and call it image. Now I have reference to Pikachu. One other thing that I want is to get my CSS styles. So I'm going to say CSS style and call it document dot. No, it's gonna be the computed styles. So let's just say window dot get computed style, and then we can pass on the element, which is going to be a Pikachu. So this is basically referencing to the element, and this is going to get us the style that gets computed when the page is loaded for Pikachu or for the previous element, right? Now that we have that particular value, what we can do is just gonna stop rendering or controlling the hand, and here I want to say previous position equals css style dot get property value, and this is going to be the left value. Again, this is more of CSS and JavaScript together. So if you don't know anything that is happening in here, let me know and I would be happy to help you over here. The left is basically the left position, the value for the left position for Pikachu in this web page. To help you understand this, I'm going to do a quick console log and I'm going to do page position. Save this, run this. All right, let's wait for now. As you can see, the left position is 0 pixels, which is good, which is what we want Pikachu to have initially. But now we want to, change that value. And we're going to do that in here. Remember, we are getting the score and the handedness. So let's remove this and say if the score is greater than 0.85 maybe, and the handedness equals right, then we want to do something, right? So just right now say console log move right. Else if we are going to do same for the left, score is greater than 0.85 and handedness equals left. I'm just going to do console log move left. Save this, refresh the page. All right. Okay. So if I put my left hand up, it says move left. Perfect. If I put my right hand up, it says move right. That's perfect. Now we don't want to log this. I'm going to remove that. Now what we want to do is we want to update the left value for Pikachu. So what we can do is Pikachu dot style and then do dot left. And here is the fun part. So in CSS, there is a function that is called cal, which allows you to do calculations for values. So we're going to use that and we're going to pass on the previous value. So say PRV, right? Now, whatever the previous value is, move the Pikachu, I don't know, 5 pixels more to that value. And you're going to do that for left as well. So Pikachu dot style dot right. We're going to say, hey, whatever this is, for this case, we are gonna subtract the value. So let's just again get previous this, and then let's say 5 pixels. All right, this should hopefully work. And even before I completed this, I can see there is a comment in the chat that says mine started working, directing both hands correctly. It's amazing. Thank you. That's wonderful. I am glad you got it working, and I am excited to see your finished project. Right, you're gonna do the quick refresh, and Pikachu should start moving. Hopefully, once I show my left hand. All right, it is not working for some reason. If I show my right hand, does something happen? All right, so if I show my right hand, something is happening, which is wonderful. But if I show my left hand, it's not working. That is interesting. But let's see why it's not working. Just gonna add some spaces to make it more readable. If we do okay, what I want to do is maybe I'm just gonna console log the score and the handedness just to be sure. And I see someone having an error. I have an error, uncaught type error, failed to execute get computed style on window, parameter 1 is not of type element. Just reading through this, I think what is happening over here is, and I can see because my right hand is detected, Pikachu is moving forward. But anyways, coming back to your question, uh, This is happening because the element that you are referencing to is not correct. It's not able to find that particular element. So maybe try and check that. Maybe you are using class instead of id or something like that. If you are using class, it returns an array. If you are using tags, it also returns an array. So just check that, make sure that you are referencing to the correct element. Maybe hopefully that should solve the problem. All right, so we were having issues with Pikachu. Ah, I found the problem. So the problem was, instead of Pikachu.style.right, we want to do Pikachu.style.left because we are separating that value from left. All right. All right. ML model got loaded. Things looks good. Let's start with the right hand. All right. Now the left hand. Again the right hand and the left hand. Wonderful. Okay. While I was doing this, I thought of another idea which might be fun. And there are, I think, already existing applications, but you can always make it in your own way to have to have a web application, something similar to this, which makes people exercise more and makes exercise more fun, right? Because right now what we are doing is we are just lifting our hands and something is happening on the screen, which is interesting. So maybe have something like this. Again, just a random idea. Maybe you can create something like this and have a fun way to exercise. All right. Wow. We still have 30 minutes and we were able to code the whole thing. This is fantastic. Now, again, what I want you all to do is ask any questions that you might have right now while I update the gist with the source code so that you have the source code with you. And I was just taking a look uh, on the other screen, and Pikachu was moving, even though I my hands were not visible, which is interesting. So the model is not 100% accurate, as you can see, but it works, right? Now, what you can do is you can always change the parameters. Let's see over here. Why are you moving? Anyways, you can always change the parameter in here. So you can say like, hey, if it is more than 98, only then Pikachu should move forward or backward, right? So you can do something like that as well. All right. So this is all I had for this stream, and I know I mentioned that we might do something for if we have enough time for the face detection, uh, and get the expressions and see if we can do some kind of emojis as well. Now we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to try to implement it as quickly as I can. It's a simple face detection, short detection architecture with a custom encoder. I just want to see if this is the correct model that I want to use for detecting the expression. Estimate faces, key points. Hmm. Mouse center right here. No, this is not. I don't think this is the one that is you gonna detect. This is not the one that is gonna detect the expressions, I think, because the key points over here detect the different elements of the face. Mm, Right. So as I hope it's zoomed enough for you all to read. It says it, the key points would be right eye, left eye, nose tape, mouth center, right ear tracheon, and the left ear tracheon. I don't know what even that is. Okay. So I am. Maybe there is another model that would detect face expressions. I know there is one that does that, but I am completely blanking on which model was that. Let's just try to find out on the internet. Uh, face expression TFGS. Facial expression recognition, but I want to know the model. Emotion instead of expression. That's a nice idea. Emotion detection, because we want the model, right? It's gonna show us existing projects, blog posts, and stuff like that. So, building a motivation board, na na na. All right, I'm just gonna go to the first link and see what we have here. Face detection. Right. Okay. And for emotion, this is the face API. Yes, this is what I used. Now I remember. Gonna use face API JS for this. Like they have got amazing examples in there. Now I remember what I used earlier. All right. If I can find that for the browser, face API.js test. Okay. All right. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna close the server. Wait, no, I'm just gonna keep the server running. What I'm gonna do is I am gonna start adding things in the same project because I don't want to create a new file and go through all that trouble again. If I can just get the raw format. Okay. I'm conscious. No, that would be a bad idea for now. I was thinking of commenting out the hand pose models. Let me just add a comment just that we know. Right. And this is face API. Got API.js. I'm gonna get the map as well because again I don't know what the exact code looks like. Well, there should be a CDN for this, but we're just gonna try it. We're gonna see if we can create this quickly in the next 15 minutes. All right. Again, folks, if you have any questions for what we covered till now, feel free to ask me in the chat. If you have any ideas for your project, let us know in the chat as well. And put it in here. Save this and I see that the problem got resolved and they say that it was because I loaded JS file at the top of HTML rather than after. So image include. I see. Okay, yeah. So the way the whole web thing works is a bit interesting. So it starts loading things from the top, right? So because you had your JavaScript on the top, it ran the JavaScript, and then again, because your image did not get loaded till then, you ran into that error. I'm glad you were able to figure that out. Oh, you made a small clip. Ooh, wonderful. If you post it on Twitter, feel free to tag me on Twitter. I'm kind of not that active, but a bit active on Twitter. So feel free to tag me on Twitter. All right, so we got the Face API in here. Can I see the documentation, how it's used? Getting started. Ooh. So all global neutral network instances are exported via faceapi.net. Okay. All right. Because we don't want to use this anymore. And just trying to think how much code we don't want. You know what? I'm just gonna comment the whole thing. Yeah, I'm just gonna comment out the whole thing. Right. Just gonna comment out the whole thing. Oh, so my Twitter handler is this is Herschel1712, as you can see in my name somewhere over here. I don't know if I'm pointing it correctly, but it's Herschel1712. You can basically find me on the internet with that handler almost everywhere. All right, the first thing I want to check is if we get Face API loaded or not. So I'm going to do window dot face API. Whew, let's see. If I run this, it says undefined. All right, so I need to figure out how it is available in here. Ah, okay. I am getting a CORS warning. Blocked response with mime type this. CORB, okay. We cannot read the file right now, which is not fun. So what I'm gonna do is, again, I'm trying to be as quick as I can already with this, and I already have 19 minutes, so I'm just gonna try to pump it up. Face api.min.js, which is this one. I'm just gonna copy the code and have that locally available. What was the other one? Uh, face. Come on. Come on. Come on, VS Code. We can do it. Right, let's try to create a new file, face api.js, and there's one more that we need is face api.js.map. Now we might not need all these files, but I don't want to go through the rabbit hole of figuring out which files I need and which I don't. So I'm just gonna right now get all the files. Copy it, paste it in here, save this, close this, come back. Come on. Right. These are some huge files here. As you can see, 6,568 lines of code. Oh, I see someone is having some difficulty. Not sure if everyone is still there, but we are here. Don't worry about it. I am getting this issue. Cannot read properties of undefined. Reading at user media. It's shared online. It's because of Chrome. Anyone else get it? Anyone did anyone face the same problem? Did you get that error? I am using Brave, which is using the same engine as Chrome. That's Chromium. It was running fine for me. So I'm not sure why you got the error. If I can find that. All right. So, all right. So the other people were also using Chrome, and they didn't not run into that error. I would say maybe first of all, just make to make sure that we are using the correct version. Update Chrome if it's not updated in a while, and the next is make sure that you are using the correct code. There might be something from the message cannot read properties of undefined. So you might have misspelled something in there because it's not able to read that function from the previous object that you are referencing it to. So you maybe check that, and if you are still facing problem, go through the code that I have shared. Again, if that does not help as well, let us know. We'll come back to you. Okay, I'm just gonna continue with this. I am trying to see if I can get Face API loaded somehow. Okay, Face API. Okay, so just Face API. It should be. I should be able to refer Face API somehow. All right. What I should do is update the script. So we're calling it Face API.js. And last one over here is Face API min.js. Make sure that I'm following the standard here. I'm just gonna reference it like this. Save it, come back here, refresh the page. All right, okay. Things are working. There was an error, I mean, that's okay. We are getting Face API. Now, as you can see, we are able to console log some stuff which the API provides. Things are working fine. So what we want to do now is, let's go to the documentation to Face API. Where is it? So all global neural network instances are exported via faceapi.net. So we can do .net and it can do face expression. Okay, that's what we need, right? You have to provide the corresponding manifest. All right, this might get a bit tricky because it is asking us to get the model. So we might have to load the model from some place. Mm, oh my god, anyone got any ideas of how we can do this now? We got 13 minutes. I at least want to do the facial recognition part, even though if we cannot implement emotions, that's fine. But if we can make this work in the next 13 minutes, that would be something. I'm so much tempted to just run this function without doing anything. You know what? I'm just going to try it out. I'm going to see if that works. If it does not work, well, we tried. So let's come in here. Where was our init function? So this is the one that I need because again, I need to access the webcam, and then I want to call that function when document is loaded. All right. And I am going to have main function in there as well. But now what I am going to do in the main function is, let me uncomment the whole thing. Now again, this is something that we are trying out. We might not be able to run this successfully because this wasn't the original plan for the live stream, but let's see if we can do this. All right, what we want to do is we want to do const, I'm just going to say detect face await window dot face API dot detect a single face and pass on video. Maybe this should work. Okay, I also need to control this so that we know if it is working or not. Should detect face. But I'm going to remove the Pikachu over here because it's not needed for this example. Save it, refresh the page. Oh no, we forgot to uncomment config. Refresh it. Window.faceAPI.single detect single face is not a function. All right. So just detect single face is not a function. I'm trying to see if we can. So there is a detect. Oh no. Okay. So that is detect single face task. Can we run face detection? Face expression, face recognition.net, gender, point, neural network. Folks, any idea of what we can do over here? So we have a detect single face. Okay. Am I spelling it correct? Detect. Always a typo. Okay. Yeah. So as I predicted, we need to get the model up and running, which is gonna be interesting because I don't know from where I can get the model, and this does not give me much information on how I can get the model. I remember earlier when I was working with this API, I had to download the model, but uh, right now I cannot find. Wait, alternatively, you can also create your own instance of the. See, I need this models in here, but I don't have that. Load from the web, load from the weight map, load from disk. Yeah. So I need the model. I don't have the model right now, so I won't be able to run this. So see if they have the model for me somewhere. No. But we got. I want to give 5 minutes for a recap. So we got what 3 more minutes. I'm just gonna try to see if I can get model from. They have the model in here. No. Okay. Wait, this should have the model if I'm not wrong. No. All right. I'm not going to waste a lot of time now over here. But the way to implement this is already you can see it from the documentation. You need to first add a model. You have to reference to that model. Once you reference to that model, you can simply run functions like detect single face, detect all the faces, detect expression and stuff like that. I will try to I'll try to create an example for this. There are already examples out there, but I'm going to try to create one and add it on my GitHub so that you can follow it. You can try it out on your own and play with it as well. All right. So I'm going to come back and talk about what we covered today and see if we have any questions before we say goodbye. We can. All right. So what we did today is we learned about we implemented TFGS. We implemented one of the models that we can use with TFGS, and that was the hand pose detection model. What that model allows us to do is detect the hand in that image or a video or even the video that is coming in from your webcam. Once you have that, the model tells you if it's a right hand, if it's a left hand. You can do a lot of things. You can also, in a virtual space, you can create 3D hands. You can, move those 3D hands based on the input from the user or based on how the user is running that, is interacting, right? So that's one of the other things that you can do, but we didn't look into it today. But the model gives you that particular output so that you can check that out as well. But what we did today was we created a very small, tiny game which allows us to move our Pikachu forward and backwards when our hand is detected. And again, our left thing is not working because, of course, I made a change over here. I did Control G. I didn't think about that. If I do left, it should move back. All right, it's not taking the negative position. That's all right. But now if I do left, it's moving back. So this is what we created. And the way we moved forward with it, we first created the basic HTML files for this. And we started with implementing the video part of it because we want to take the input from the webcam. We added the code for it. Let's see. Where is the code? Here is the code. So we created an init function. We had a couple of constraints for our input, which is like, hey, we don't want the audio for this. So we can ignore that. And we shared like what kind of info, what is the width, the height, and all that information for the video. And we were referencing to that video, the video tag. We set the height and the width for that video. And then we use the navigator.media devices dot get user media, and we are passing on the constraints. So like, hey, when you're capturing this, make sure you're not capturing the audio and the video is of this and this height and with this FPS. Now, what we want to do is we also want to render that out. And the way we are doing is we are setting up the source object value of our video element and setting it to stream. So whatever input is being captured by the webcam is being written on the screen. And then we are returning out a promise in here. Later, to actually call this function, we are having an event listener, which is DOM content loaded. So after the content is loaded, this function gets executed and it calls our init video function, which basically takes allows the webcam to render out the display. All right. We did a couple of things over here. The next thing we did is we created a main function, and in this main function is where we are actually implementing all the things. So let's take a look at the main function in here. So again, in the main function, we are referencing to that video element and we are calling the create detector. So this create detector is using the hand pose detection model, and we are basically setting up the parameters for the model, and then we are returning that model. So this model is being written over here. Once that model is loaded, we tell the browser, or we basically log it in the browser, like, hey, the model is loaded. You can move forward with the next steps. The next step is we are using that model to detect the hands using the estimate hands function. Now this function needs an input, and in our case the input is a video. So we are passing on the video. If you have an image, you can pass on the image as well. And we are also getting the computed value for the position of the Pikachu. Now this, once it detects the input, it returns an array. And what we are doing is we're just getting the, because we are interested in the first value of the array, we are getting that out. We are extracting source and handedness, and then we are adding up some logic to see if we want to move the Pikachu forward or backward based on the hand gesture or based on the hand. And then we are having a set timeout function, and we are basically calling that detect hand function within it itself. We are doing a recursion in here, and then we're calling the main function. That's it. You all did a wonderful job. A lot of you, I know, were able to follow me. For the folks who were not able to follow me throughout this, don't worry. As I mentioned, the gist is publicly available. I'm also gonna probably create a GitHub repo for this with with a live demo so that you can play with this beforehand and you can try it out yourself as well. And I hope you all enjoyed it, and thank you for joining in. One thing before you all drop off is to make sure that you check in, and let me quickly get the link. I've already shared the check-in link on Discord, but if you missed it, I am gonna share it again here as well. All right, so make sure that you check in for this uh, event, and I hope to see you all soon. Have a wonderful day, and wonderful day, night, evening, wherever you are, and I hope to see you all soon. Have a nice one.